welcome everyone to our second Clearinghouse Training technology training session. We're putting these together in preparation for the national level exercise and to help everybody understand how they can be sharing information more effectively during disasters. That's what we're going to be demonstrating for the exercise. This is our second training. But by popular demand, we are going to be repeating the orientation presentation that we gave last week. Word has spread, and so there are a lot of new people on today, so we're going to kind of go over what we went over last week. And next week, we'll get started with the actual training. I also want to thank Carol Oxygen for sharing the announcement out with everybody. So welcome to everybody who's new this week. So the Clearinghouse, for those of you who aren't familiar with it, is a requirement of the National Earthquake Hazardous Reduction Program that's under GHS and FEMA. And the Clearinghouse concept actually originated with the state earlier than the NEPA program. The Clearinghouse has been around since 1971. And the purpose is to provide emergency managers with timely and relevant information from the ongoing field investigations. So the FEMA branch of GHS formalized the Clearinghouse concept, but they didn't provide any specific blueprint for how this information sharing is supposed to happen. So the Clearinghouse, when trying to improve our operations and keep up with the times, we went out looking for opportunities and technologies that we can use to accomplish this information sharing mandate. And fortunately, we didn't have to look any farther than the DHS Science and Technology Directorate. They funded the development of XchangeCore, which is the technology that we're using. So DHS, mandates that on one hand, mandates that we could stand up a clearinghouse, and fortunately, they were nice enough to provide a means to do that. And the clearinghouse, the XchangeCore technology, one of the requirements for DHS in developing it was that it be developed, prototyped, made successful, and then graduate off DHS support and transitioned into public sector as a user supported technology. And the Clearinghouse is part of that. The Clearinghouse is part of that community, and so that's part of why we're doing this training, is to share what we've learned. So the whole reason for doing this is to allow each organization to use the specialized tools and technologies that best support their roles and responsibilities in responding to a disaster, and any disaster, not just earthquakes. What we're doing is using the Clearinghouse as a laboratory to be able to test the technology and to be able the ability to share information so that then it can be used for all of the disasters. And the purpose is to liberate you from the routine, mundane, critical, but very, very time-consuming tasks of moving, sharing, organizing, and managing data when you least have the time to do that. Like in a disaster, when you're trying to scramble to put together information for a briefing. And for the data experts and analysts out there, that means that you will have more time to perform the important tasks that you are supposed to be conducting in support of a disaster, rather than doing those mundane tasks. And it's using, a lot of organizations have their own common operational picture, and this effort will allow you to bring more information into your common operational picture. It'll increase the number and types of data sources that you can add to your viewer. Some of the partners that we're working with are here on the screen: FEMA Region 9, City of Walnut Creek, Cal OES, National Guard, Spot On Response, NASA JPL, and also the USGS, I should point out, in conjunction with the Open Geospatial Consortium. They conducted their own interoperability assessment back in late last year in 2014. And they conducted, I think, 5 hours worth of interviews with various organizations and saw lots of presentations, and they distilled all of that into a 10-minute highlight video of everything that they learned. And the Clearinghouse Technology Project not only is the first project they discussed, but it's only half of the whole 10-minute presentation. So they provided a recommendation for what we're doing with XchangeCore. So, if you want to take a look at that, there's a little bit more information on what we're doing there as well. So, why is this important? Well, here are some of the tools that are commonly used. They're not by any means all of the tools, but you see AGOL, ArcGIS Online, for those of you not familiar with this, that's an Esri product, Google Earth, ArcMap, WebEOC, which in the state of California is CalEOC, and then in the bottom right you see that's our spot-on response Clearinghouse field data collection tool. And these are just some of the tools that can connect through XchangeCore to share information, but they're certainly not the only ones. But the reason this is important is that it gives, when you see a problem, you can report it, and then everybody else sees it in real time. It's providing situational awareness. And I actually had a CalOES person contact me, and they said, I'm going to be sitting in the SOC. I'm not going to use any field tools. I'm going to be looking at CalEOC. So I'm not sure how this is going to be relevant to me. And that's the whole point, is that you don't need to learn any other new tools. You will know, though, that the tool that you're using will be pulling in information from all of these other tools. Everybody's going to be sitting at their own console, whether it's a Google Earth or an ArcMap or a WebEOC or they're out in the field with the Clearinghouse spot-on response tool. They're all going to be sharing information. They're all going to be entering information in their own system, but it's going to be shared out to everyone else, so that when you have to do a briefing, you don't have to go out saying, well, gee, what's going on in the field? And then having to go out and collect that information or try to figure out who to contact, that might have that information. And then worse, finally figuring out who has that information, and they send it to you through either some FTP site or a link, and then you find out you have to do all kinds of post-processing before you can get it into your tool or your common operational picture. You don't. The whole point is to eliminate those routine types of tasks. And we have also been able to share information about infrastructure that's been affected. And again, it's viewable, and you can share information through these various tools. Some of the information that we can share is infrastructure data. You can see on the bottom right, there's the HSIP infrastructure data. And our partners at NASA JPL are taking some of that information and turning that into points on a map that you can click on, and the people out in the field can add information to it, and then you will also see that on your tool as well. And it's important because in a federal disaster, the sooner that you can get that type of information, the faster that a federal declaration will occur, or it helps the state tap into those resources more efficiently. So, and it's particularly important for small events. So for the South Napa earthquake, which was a magnitude 6, the earthquake occurred on August 24th, but the federal declaration didn't come until September 11th, almost 3 weeks, more than 3 weeks, or almost 3 weeks later. And that's because it took that long to compile the damage information in order to demonstrate that there was damage that met that federal threshold for a disaster declaration. So the sooner we can get this information into everybody, the sooner we can get resources flowing into the state to help the recovery. And it's the right kind of information as well. We've been able to, so as I mentioned, we're able to share field observations. And it's important to be able to coordinate for all the people that are out in the field, for them to be able to talk to each other, and also to be able to communicate back and forth to the State Operations Center and other organizations that use that information, because it helps us self-direct more efficiently and eliminate duplication of effort and make the most out of the limited resources that are available. And we can also exchange information about model results. And that matters because model results, there's all kinds of models that are produced before an earthquake or any type of disaster to simulate what the possibilities are for practice, like we're doing with the NLE. But the models are static, and they don't change, and models are no match for reality. And so, but they are a good starting point. We can share that model information out to people in the field and say, this is based on what the shaking is and what we know about different types of infrastructure. these are places where we predict there might be some damage. The people out in the field can see that, and then they can go out to those specific locations and say, well, here's what's really happening. At this location, it was predicted that the bridge was damaged. But in fact, you know what? It actually wasn't. It looks like there's a few minor surface fractures, but the structure looks fine. There doesn't look like anything that's going to affect the structure. So we don't have to worry about that. But this other location, another location you might find, oh yeah, this really is damaged, and here are the pictures, and here's the extent of it, and this is the type of equipment that it looks like we might need to repair it. So that's the kind of information that you'll be able to provide and share. And so for the exercise, what we're going to be doing through the next several weeks is going through how you can use these various tools and different applications, how they are connected through XchangeCore to share information. And we want to be able to get everybody trained up so that when the exercise happens, you can be sitting down at whatever your tool is, whatever your technology is, and you can be doing these things during the exercise. What we found in the past is that if we don't do any training beforehand, then people tune in the exercise and say, wait, what was I supposed to do? Oh, I didn't read that piece of paper. I forgot to read the instructions. Where's my login? So the idea is to give everybody lots of opportunities to learn about this at their own pace using exactly the tools that they're using, and provide an opportunity to tune in, ask questions, show off what you've been able to do. And so there are different ways you can participate. If you want to just connect in and just to see, you connect and pull data, meaning, one element, take down or pull one element one time. You can connect and push data, so you can add information to your system, one element, and share it out one time. Or you can do that multiple times. And ultimately, the goal is to not just to be able to share information, but the whole point of being able to do that is then once that information is in your tool or technology, you can work with it. So put together a briefing product or do some sort of analysis, combine information on your system with information from other organizations. So, for instance, you might have, be working for a local jurisdiction. You can take your census data and then add your own critical care facilities and then bring in information about ground failure from people out in the field and say, well, okay, this is the number of people that we need to shelter. These are the shelters. This is where the damage is. So that means these are the facilities that we're not going to be able to use, or we're going to have to rethink. So that's ultimately what we're going to be getting at over the next several weeks of training. And now I'm going to hand it over to Jim Morantz, and he's going to show you how all of this works.
What we're looking at here is exchanged information. Information that is the same on multiple applications, all of which are visualizing it in their own way. Let's start out. WebEOC, the official CalOES application. WebEOC we have here. We see we've got an airport problem, landslides, and traffic accidents and other issues here. Some of them are open, some of them are closed. They have come from a number of different sources entered into XchangeCore through WebEOC. Secondly, let's take a look at ArcGIS Online. What do we have over here? Well, we've got an ArcGIS Online web map. That web map is pointing to XchangeCore to get the CalOES information. We can click on school closures. You've got school closures over here on WebEOC. Same information, different applications, different visualization. The third one up here, spot on response. There are those same school closures. Here we can see all the individuals who are out there with a traffic accident with casualties, traffic accident with casualties. This is a mobile app, so I'm able to view this on my tablet or on my phone as well as in an EOC and get that current information. Let's come over here to a Google Earth. Again, same kind of information in a different format, providing tree limbs down and buildings over there, and somewhere there's that earth moving equipment and all the information that you have associated there. That's what this project is all about, being able to deliver the same information into whatever application anyone wants to use. So let's take a look at how this information gets exchanged. Let's use spot on response. This is me over there. I'm going to say that I see something out here, and it's going to be a ground failure that takes place. My subject is going to be the parking lot deformation. Over here is about 30 feet inside of curb. There is a sinking. And I'm going to submit that. That's now an incident that moves out there. You can see it's highlighted here in this one. And what it does is make its move through XchangeCore out to the other applications. Okay, and here it has appeared. See parking lot deformation, see parking lot deformation. Click on that. Get the incident ground failure about 30 feet inside the curb. Same thing that we did over there. Let's see what's happened over here in ArcGIS Online. Let's take a look. See parking lot deformation, exactly the same information. Passed among these three separate applications taking place now, each of them viewing it in its own way. Okay, let's now take a look at how I'm going to move GIS data into these operational applications. Let's come back over here to ArcGIS Online. Now we're going to call on the XchangeCore connector. The XchangeCore connector, we're going to turn on hazardous waste sites. Let's say that we have a problem that we suspect might have some hazardous waste problems associated with it. And I can come over here, pick any one of these hazardous waste sites, and say that I want to come and find the same information that we saw previously, the tree limb down, the landslide areas, the school closures, now in a different visualization, because what I'm going to be doing is interacting with these incidents, the same ones that were up here and over here and on spot on response. What I want to do is I want to use this information to create an incident. Let's say that I have, in fact, put on some type of a problem that's associated with the area over here, and somebody says, gee, we've got an issue here, we've got a potential risk of hazardous waste site. I'm going to come over here, click on that, and I'm going to say, let's select the hazardous waste sites. I just want one of those. Sorry, I keep going back over here, which is unfortunate, but going to pick out one of these hazardous waste sites and say, this is the one I care about. What I've determined is that a hazardous waste site is at risk. So what I'm going to do is go find that hazardous waste site. Let's say it's this one right there. And what I do is select features, pick a single one of those, select my hazardous waste site, pick a single one of those, and then pick that hazardous waste site there, and it turns yellow. When that turns yellow, what it means is that I've now captured all the data associated with that hazardous waste site. And if I now want to create an incident based on that hazardous waste site, I simply click on plus an incident. And I got nothing. Absolutely fucking nothing. So we want to move GIS data to the operations. So let's say we're having a problem at a airport. So we're going to select the airports. We're going to touch that single. We're going to come over here, pick one of these airports, and come back here to the add an incident. We've added the incident. That is a airport problem. We'll call that. Let's get the location. The information that you have right down in here, if I scroll through that, is all of the information associated with the airport. It's latitude and longitude and attributes, and it's object ID, and it's a polyline, and it's got all sorts of other, it's a street, and it's a runway ID, all the other information that is associated with the pop-up window in that. Got other information you can fill out, but I'm simply going to submit that at the time. The incident was successfully created. Now, what we've done is taken your GIS infrastructure data and turned it into an incident that is used inside of different applications. So let's come over here. And somewhere over here we've got an airport problem, exactly what we're looking at. And that airport problem, here it is. And there's the information about it. Ugly looking format because XchangeCore provides the data. This isn't properly formatted to be able to be used by Google Earth, so a little work needs to be done on the Google Earth side. Let's take a look at WebEOC. Here we've got the airport problem. We take a look at the details of that. Again, there's my airport problem, and here's that same set of information that's associated with it that allows you to be able to gather the information up. Now, over here, we've got a spot-on response, another tool. We've got an airport problem here. Click on that. Spot-on response does, first of all, it gives me directions from where I am to that airport, but it does a little bit better job. It formats all the information that's associated with that original ArcGIS online infrastructure information. So again, I've now taken GIS information from one format in ArcGIS Online, shared it out with all the other operational applications. So whatever this airport problem is, whether it's the National Guard using Google Earth or whether it's Cal OES in many of the counties using WebEOC or whether it's the Clearinghouse spot-on response app, everybody's seeing the same information. Now, people are going to know more and tell more about that airport and other problems that are going on. So I'm going to start over here with spot-on response. Click over here. We got a tree limb down. Let's see the details of the tree limb down. And it fell on a patio. And if I come down here and take a look at that, I'm going to see that tree limb down. Well, what can I do with that? I'm going to push that same information to all of my other applications over here. I've got my tree limb down. That picture that we saw over there in spot-on response gets translated into, again, different formats, different ways to do it, over here into ArcGIS Online, and I can see that same tree limb down. I come back over here, want to go off, and I've got, what do I have over here? That was someplace out here maybe. Oh, how about a tree limb down? Let's see whether we got it there. Yes, in fact, Google Earth, same information underlying it. WebEOC doesn't deal with it that way. So you're able to gather information, share it, move it, relate it to different incidents to allow you to be able to drive all the proper information into the right locations. Now let's say I want more than just a picture of a tree limb down. For that, we have other applications. Clearinghouse Field Notes tool that was developed by USGS for the clearinghouse. And here you see what we have is, first of all, I've gone to another application, Clearinghouse Field Notes, but I've done it through spot-on response. So some more integration, it knows who I am. And if in fact, as part of that, we have a liquefaction problem, I come over here and it knows that the particular problem that we're dealing with is that tree limb down. So it has taken all the information out of spot-on response, related it back to Clearinghouse Field Notes, its location. I'm now a scientist who knows what I'm talking about, which I don't. Lateral spreading and 4 meters there and half a meter there. I can put some notes in here. And then go off and publish that information out to the Clearinghouse Field Notes, which will then share it out with XchangeCore, bring that information right back to applications like spot-on response, where we would find that in this case, I would be looking for Clearinghouse Field Notes, and here we would see many other indications of building losses and other elements that were associated with the assessment being done by the Clearinghouse Field Notes. And you see many of those that have gone through XchangeCore shown up here in spot-on response. The end result is that information is exchanged from XchangeCore, received from one location, provided to multiple locations, additional information fed back to each of the originators to assure that we are delivering the kind of information to provide the essential elements of information to those making key decisions. And with that, I'll turn it over to Anne.
Thanks, Jim, for that demonstration. And just to kind of wrap things up, another part of what we're doing is it's not just about sharing information, but one of the things we're trying to understand with this exercise and why your participation is so valuable to us in this national level exercise is we want feedback. We're trying to understand now that we know that we can share information and it's possible, we're trying to understand the best way to work with the information. We want to make sure that no matter which tool or technology you're picking up, you're providing the right type of information. But what are the essential elements of information that are useful? What are the most critical pieces of information? And we want to be able to organize those. In the national level exercise last year, which was also an earthquake scenario in the Midwest, they were able to take a lot of information and color code it and put that into maps and organize it in different ways. And that's another part of what we're doing. So there's a process flow. There's an order of operation. First, you have to be able to get the information into these systems. That's what the Clearinghouse Technology project is all about. And then once it's in these various systems, how do you work with it? What are the best ways? What are the best practices for that? So we're going to be discussing that as well. Because we are now in the internet age, we are inviting anybody and everybody to participate, even if you're not in California. Think of it as the sort of mutual aid exercise component of all of this. If you're in a neighboring state and surely in a large earthquake, you may have resources to contribute. In a real situation, you could see what's actually happening and then look at your resources and say, oh, it looks like they need excavators or they need cherry pickers. Let's look and see what we've got in our inventory and see what we can send, or what other resources do they need right now. So that's, if you're anywhere else, it doesn't matter. You're more than welcome to participate, and we hope that you will. So to get started, just review the instructions that we sent out for XchangeCore. They're available on the Clearinghouse website. You need to get credentials to log into XchangeCore. If you have an ArcGIS Online, you can use your own valid ArcGIS Online credentials. Again, the training is self-paced, and the most important thing is to practice and ask questions. So we're looking forward to the next several weeks. And if you have any questions, please feel free to contact us. This is a little bit of an overview of what we're going to be covering over the next several weeks. And if you have suggestions for things that you want to see, let us know. And if you have a tool that you want to connect, let us know that too. So here's my information. If you need to get XchangeCore credentials, shoot me an email, and I will be sure to get those to you. Thanks.